Welcome to our second shiur on Megillas Rus. We explore a little more of the background of Moav in the chumash, and then begin to read the first perek, where we find many questions around Elimelech and his family's choice of destination. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so before we get to the actual text of Rus, even though I promised we'd start with the actual text of Rus, basically I'm a big fat liar. There's a couple psukim in Bamidbar and Dvarim that I want to read for you. So we're going to do Bamidbar 22. Let's see. Okay, so the first 5 psukim or 4 even really, in Bamidbar, are the beginning of Parshas Balak. So that is where we get the whole problem with the Moabites hiring Bilam, right? There's 2 reasons that you can't marry a Moabite, and that is because they didn't greet you with bread and water, and they hired Bilam. So just to read that,
and they're dudes.
And right, well, we're sort of.
I generally would not want to marry a dude.
Well, or the women.
Right.
Right. We were kind of back and forth on that, and we ended, if I recall correctly, where the Gemara ends off is. It's a halacha l'Moshe Misinai that you are allowed to marry Moabite women, but not because of the drasha of Moavi v'lo Moavit. So the Jews are on their way through the Midbar, and Pasuk Aleph in Perek Chav Bet says, "Vayisu b'nei Yisrael v'yachanu ba'arvos Moav me'ever liyarden Yerichos." They're now in the steeps of Moab, opposite Yericho. Vayar Balak ben Tzipor. Balak sees everything that the Jews did to the Amori. They wiped out the Amori in the previous parak. Vayagar Moav mipnei ha'am ma'od ki rabhu. Moab is freaking out because there's a lot of these Jews. Vayakatz Moav mipnei bnei Yisrael, and Moab dreaded. They translate Vayakatz as dreaded the Israelites. Vayomer Moav el ziknei midyan ata yelacha kuha kahal es kol spivosenu kilachoch hashor. As Yerek HaSadeh, they're going to lick clean this whole nation of people the way an ox licks up the grass of the field. Ubalak ben Zipor melech l'moav va'es hahi v'yishlach malachim el Bilam ben Beor pisora asher al hanahar eretz b'nei Amon likrolo lemor hinei am yatzam mitzrayim hinei kisa es ein haaretz v'hu yoshev mimuli v'yatel lecha. No, arali esa amazeh. So there's these Jews, and they came out of Egypt, and now they're covering the whole earth, and they're on the road towards me, right? They're bordering by me. Now, please go curse them. Kiatzumhu mimeni, because they're greater than us. Ulayu chal nakabo v'agrashenu min haaretz. So I need you to curse them so I can defeat them and drive them out of the land. Ki yadati es asher tevarach mavarach v'asher ta'or you are. That is...
When it says Vayikatz, like Moab, is that spelled the same way like Vayikatz Paro?
Yeah, so Rashi brings that. Right now. That's Rashi. That's Rashi there on the spot.
Like they woke up suddenly?
No, not Vayikatz, like to get up, but Vayakutsu is to be disgusted. Where is it? Vayikatz Moav, says Rashi, means that Moab was sick of their lives. Katzti b'chayai is what Rivka says about the wives of Esav.
Mm-hmm. It's Yud Kuf Sadi. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Bamidbar 22. Now we're going to fast forward to Bamidbar 25 and get the end of the story.
Is it spelled the same way?
It's a double Yud by Paro.
Oh.
Okay, so Bamidbar 25, 1 and 2. Vayeshiv Yisrael b'shitim, vayechal ha'am liznos el b'nos Moav. So this is after the story with Bilam. Bilam leaves ineffective, and the Jews are now dwelling in Shittim. Vayechal ha'am liznos el b'nos Moav, and the Jews began to profane themselves to get involved with snus with the women of Moab. Vatikra'ena la'am lezivchei Elohehem. These women of Moab invited the men to the sacrifices of their god, meaning to partake in the korbanos that they were bringing to their god. Vayochal ha'am v'yishtachavu le'Eloheim, and the men partook. They ate from it, and they bowed to the gods of Moab. V'yitzmod Yisrael l'Baal Peor v'char af Adonai b'Yisrael. So Yisrael attached itself to Peor, yeah, and God got really mad that they did that.
So they did two of the big three.
Right,
You know, like
right. That is the beginning and the end of the story of camping by Moav, and now we're going to go to Devarim 23.
All over the place tonight.
Right, just bouncing around.
yeah, I was just saying how sad it is, like drinking Snapple. It's just a sad sight.
Okay, Devarim 23, 3 and 4. So this is what we had before when we were talking about all the people who are not allowed to join the congregation of Yisrael. It actually starts at the beginning of 23. Lo yikach ish es aviv, lo yigala knaf aviv, lo yavo petzu adako, kru shavcha b'kahal Hashem. These are people who have various injuries, are not allowed to be part of the kahal Hashem. Lo yavo mamzer b'kahal Hashem gam dor asiri. A mamzer is not allowed into the kahal of Hashem even through the 10th generation. Lo yavo lo b'kahal Hashem. They cannot join at all. That's pasuk 3. Pasuk 4. Lo yavo amoni u'moavi b'kahal Hashem. No Ammoni and Moavi can be part of the kahal Hashem. Gam dor asiri. Also the 10th generation. Lo yavo lehem b'kahal Hashem ad olam. Al dvar asher lo kidmu eschem belechem v'mayim b'derech b'tzisim b'Mitzrayim, because they didn't greet us with bread and water when we left Mitzrayim. V'asher schar alecha as Bilam ben Beor miptor aram naraim lekal alecha, and because they hired Bilam to curse us. Right? That we're all familiar with. Now we're going to we'll do one more pasuk, and that is Dvarim 2:9. I hope this is the right one. Dvarim 2:9 says, "Vayomer Adonai Eli, al tatzar es Moav, val tisgar bam milchama." Hashem says to Moshe, "Do not harass Moav or provoke them to war. Ki lo eten lecha me'artso Yerusha, ki livnei lot nasati es ar Yerusha." I'm not going to give over the land of Moav to you. I'm giving that to the Bnei Lot as a Yerusha. So the Jews are not allowed to go through the land of Moav, right? Part of what we're saying Moav did wrong is that they didn't greet them with bread and water. But they weren't going to go through the land of Moav anyway. Right? Why do you need to greet them with bread and water? Because they're traveling and they need food. But they're not traveling through your land. So why would you be obligated to give them anything?
Then why do we get into a fight with them in the first place?
Are they allowed to go through land without harassing them? This is unharassed. That includes.
You can't go through their land. Right?
Maybe.
Ki lo eten lecha me'artso
Maybe
Yerusha.
you were supposed to go through their land, and because they refused, like now you can't go at all.
I didn't
Like
say you can't go through them.
Right. I'm not going to give you the land. I hear what you're saying.
I don't know if that's
right.
correct or not.
Didn't we ask? We asked.
Maybe it's
We
included.
asked Esau, right? And he was like, "No."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Come on, we'll pay for the water and stuff." And he's like, "No."
Hard pass. Yeah, what's up with that?
Okay, we'll do one more
Piece of
pasuk,
jerks.
or maybe a few more. Okay, this is Devarim. Oh, it's actually just right here. 24. Hashem says, "Kumu su'u v'ivru es nachal arnon re'en asati biyadcha es sichon melech hashbon hamori es arzo hechal rash v'hisgarbo milchama." So God says, "I'm going to go through Nachal Arnon. I'm going to give Sichon, the king of Heshbon, the Amorite, over to you. He's in the land of the Amorite, I guess. Hayom hazeh achel teit pachtecha v'yirasecha al pnei ha'amim tachas kol hashamayim asher yishmun shmecha v'ragzu v'chalu mipanecha." Everyone's going to be afraid of you. Once you conquer Sichon, you're invincible. V'shlach malachim mimidbar kademos el Sichon melech Heshbon divrei shalom lemor. So Moshe says, I sent messengers to Sichon, the king of Heshbon, divrei shalom. Greetings. Lemor, ebra ba'artzecha. Let me pass over your land. Baderech elech. I'm going to go only on the path, meaning I'm lo asur yaminu small. I will not travel veer to the left or to the right. Ochal ba'kesef tishbereni v'achalti umayim b'kesef titenli v'shasisi. you can charge me for the food and drink that I'm going to take as I go through. You'll set up little stands, and you can overcharge me $8 for a bottle of water. Rak ebra baraglai. Please just let me go through on foot. Okay, pasuk 29. Kasher asuli b'nei Esav hayoshvim b'seir v'hamoavim hayoshvim ba'ar ad asher avor es hayarden el ha'aretz asher Adonai Eloheinu nosein lanu. Just as the descendants of Esav who dwell in Seir did for me, and the Moabites who dwell in Ar, that I may cross the Yarden into the land that the Lord our God is giving us.
That's what?
That's what?
So he's at. You tell me what did Moshe just say?
Oh, Moshe lied. That didn't happen.
Did it happen or did it not happen?
It did not happen.
Are you following the question?
No.
What's the question?
Moshe is saying they didn't let us through.
And not just let us through, let us buy food and water from you the way we've got food and water from Moav and Edom.
Right. That didn't happen.
Meaning, like, maybe this is out of order. Maybe it's just like we slaughtered those guys, so like do it or else.
We didn't slaughter Moav. We're not allowed to. We just saw the pasuk before. You're not allowed to do anything bad to Moav.
But didn't we get into a whole fight with them?
With Moav?
Midian.
Yes.
We murdered a lot of Midianites.
Yeah, we exactly right. We murdered a lot of Midianites, not a lot of Moabites.
Yeah. And then we had
I
the
wouldn't
war
say
with
murder.
Caesar.
I mean, when it's divine sanctioned, is it really murder?
Okay.
I'm just saying. How often you get a license to kill? That's all I'm saying. The double O before your name.
Okay.
Double O Fleischner.
On that note, I think things are murky. I guess that's what I'm trying to illustrate to you before we actually read the Megillah. It sounds like it's unclear to me what Moav did or didn't do to precipitate our not being super happy with them.
Our foreign policy.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do? I'll save that for next time. Okay.
Are we allowed to enslave them?
Yeah, and sleep wherever you want.
Okay.
Knock yourself out.
All right. I'm just saying, like,
Okay, does someone want to start us off in chapter 1, or you want me to read?
Hand me one.
Oh, we need a quote. We need a quote.
A quote. There are no
Quote.
shortcuts to any place worth going. Beverly Sells.
We are what we repeatedly do.
True.
We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Who's that?
Alexander Pope.
Churchill.
Aristotle.
That was so close.
Oh, come on.
Aristotle by way of Will Durant. Apparently Aristotle didn't quite say it that way, probably because he spoke. But
He was kind of lame anyway.
the one caveat with the JPS is that you're going to have a lot of tissues. That's my bookmark system.
That's one of the things.
Okay. You were saying something about the Shvot HaShoftim.
Vayihi b'mei Shvot HaShoftim. Vahi Rov Ba'aretz. It was in the days of the judges judging.
Yeah. Do we know, what does that mean?
Giving us the time period
He
after
was there by
Yehoshua.
himself.
After
Okay.
Yehoshua.
He was there.
Okay.
No, but what does that mean that the judges judged? There's a famous chazal.
Well, it's a derogatory attack on them, no?
Yeah. That what? It was a time where people judged their judges. The judge would say, "Take the splinter out from between your teeth," and the people would answer, "Take the pole out from between your eyes." Right? That's the turn of phrase. Like,
Blow it out here.
no, it's not that. It's like, you're telling me I have a problem. Your problem is 10 times as big. I have a splinter between my teeth. You've got a giant pole in between your eyes.
Oh.
Right? That's what they're trying to.
They're saying they're calling all the judges hypocrites.
Right? Exactly. They're saying, you want to judge? We'll judge you.
Were the judges hypocrites?
We're the judges. Well, the period of if we read Sefer Shoftim, some of them were great. Some of them were, not so great. They're
I don't know.
complex figures.
Right. It's kind of hard to say. Like, all the judges in Sefer Shoftim, like at least the ones that are named, like, generally speaking, like...
Shimshon, you like Shimshon?
You know what? He defended the Jewish people and murdered a lot of Plishtim. I got to give the guy the win. I'm not saying he's a bad person.
I'm just saying he's a complex figure.
He's a complex figure. You know what? He got tempted.
Gidon was a complex. Okay.
Gidon was complex.
Gidon was complex.
In what way?
When we go through Shoftim, we'll talk about.
I'm just saying, like I don't feel like Gidon has a complicated thing. Like.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, but the point is, we're trying to ground ourselves chronologically. So we're in the same period as Shoftim. There's a Chazal that say that Boaz, another name for Boaz was Ibtzan. Okay, so Ibtzan is one of the Shoftim. The only thing we know about him is he had a ton of kids. That's where you get the Chazal that Boaz had a bunch of children and they all died. Okay, so the reason we put the two together, there's sort of a standard principle. It's called the theory of conservation of characters. Whenever you have a character that you know very little about, and you have another character in Tanakh that you know a lot about, and there's some sort of overlap between them, Chazal tend to put the two of them together. So Ibtzan was from Beis Lechem and had a bunch of kids, so we put Boaz and Ibtzan together.
I want to know about Shamgar.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
There was a famine in the land. Vayelech ish mi Beis Lechem, Yehuda, lagor b'snei Moav. Hu v'ishto shnei banov. So there was a man from Beis Lechem in Judah, and he said he went to sojourn in the fields of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons.
Okay. There's a lot to unpack in this pasuk. I'm going to try not to belabor all of it because we could spend, I think, I don't know where the book is. Dr. Ziegler, Yael Ziegler wrote a 515-page book on Rus. There's 85 psukim in the Megillah. We can do this in like a night. She wrote a 515-page book, and I think about 125 pages are like on the first pasuk or something. It's extensive. Okay, maybe the first perek, but either way, there's a famine in the land, and people have to leave Beis Lechem. Right? There's a lot of, we're going to see, there's a lot of emphasis on names and the meaning of names or the lack of names. So you don't get any names in the first pasuk. You get this anonymous family who we're going to name immediately in the next pasuk. Right? So there's by doing that, you're drawing attention to, well, who are they? You're building suspense. Somebody left. Who's that somebody? Right? You get the same thing. Interestingly enough, in the beginning of the book called names, the beginning of Shmos, there's no names. The whole Parsha Shmos, you get no real names. You get like Shifra and Pur, which are not real names. You get like all these people, the people Pharaoh, who are named, Pharaoh's the title. Right, exactly. You get fake names or no names. Here you're getting that same concept. There again, you're also sort of building a nation and Malchus. But okay, so they leave Beis Lechem Yehuda to, what does Lagor mean? Long time, short time? Are they going to be there forever?
Long term.
Long term. Lagor, like a ger.
Yeah.
Is someone who's going to be there.
Like a resident.
Is it longer than Yoshev? Like shave?
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's 2 stages. There's a ger and a toshav.
Right.
We're going to have in this week's parsha. Abram says ger v'toshav anochi machem with the bnei ches.
The Yoshev thing is more temporary than Lagor.
Okay. And they go to, of all places, Moav. Now, why did they?
You just mentioned.
Okay, explain.
If we're not supposed to go to Moab, then how are they going to Moab?
Well, you're allowed to go to Moab.
They're going to Moab and conquering their entire country.
Right. You can go there. Why would you not go?
Vacation in Moab.
Why would you not go to Moab?
Isaac Asimov.
Yeah. Oh, you weren't here last week. Isaac Asimov wrote a commentary on Rus.
That is unbelievable.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That is bananas.
Yeah. I should just hand this around, but I want to.
Isaac Asimov wrote.
Isaac Asimov is a famous
Jewish?
sci-fi writer.
Isaac Asimov was not Jewish at all. Not even remote. Okay. So.
He's not Jewish, right?
No. Don't let the name Isaac throw you off. Okay. So. Beis Lechem is over here in Judah, and Moav is down here. So I just want you to get like an understanding. They left here. They didn't. They had to go around Ammon. We'll pass this around in just a second. They left Yehuda. They can't go through the Dead Sea, so they have to go around. They go past Ammon. This is really Ruvain. Ruvain, Gad, and Chatzi, Shev, Menashe go up till here, up till Moav, and then they come down somewhere here in Moav.
It should make
That's
it should make like a Panama Canal over there.
right.
Right. Well, then you could go across it with a rowboat, couldn't you? I mean, it's not exactly treacherous waters. Is it?
That I don't know. That I don't know. I can't even tell you that they went by foot. I can tell you that on the way back, Rus and Naomi do go by foot. So whatever you're seeing in terms of how they traveled from Beis Lechem to Moav, that has to get reversed. It's something like 50 miles.
So the question is why they went to Moab?
Why'd they go to Moav? Where do people go in Tanakh when there is a famine?
Mitzrayim.
South.
Why?
Because it's more fertile down there.
You have natural water source, and so you're making a statement in going to Moab. You have choices. You have other places you can go when there is a famine, correct? What are you saying when you go to Moab?
You have no choice.
Here,
Not
let's
going
take a
on
look.
the beaten path.
Not going on the beaten path. What would you? What kind of
You're
symbolic
attracted
statement?
to like their values, maybe.
So part of what I'm going to argue, I think, throughout the whole story is, at least in that time, people are associated with where they're from.
Right.
If you're from Moab, you're a Moabite, and I can't marry you, right? There's no genealogy. It's not like Rus has to prove that she is of Moabite descent in order for her to be a Moabite. She's from Moab, so she's a Moavi. Later on, when Sancheiriv mixes everybody up, now we don't have a mitzvah to kill out Amalek because there are no more Amalekites. Why? Because there's nobody that lives there anymore. The exception to that rule was the Jews. The Jews moved out of their land and somehow maintained being Jews. But normally in the ancient world, you are where you're from. So if I go to Sodom, right, I'm going to Sodom, I'm making a statement. These are my values. I live here because this reflects who I am, right? So if I'm leaving Eretz Yisrael to go to a place, I'm not just going to Moav because there's food in Moav. I'm going to Moav because I identify with their values. What is Moav's values? Don't give food to the Jews. Right? That's one of the two things that they're in trouble for. And so Elimelech, who we're going to meet in a moment, Chazal tell us he has lots of money. He could sort of weather the storm. The reason he leaves is not because he needs food and like, where am I going to go to get food? He leaves because he doesn't want other people who need food to come knocking at his door. What does that sound like?
Yeah,
Moab.
Sodom or Moab.
Right? Moab or Sodom.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
His
what I'm also going to
sons are
argue
named
more.
Sickness and destruction, you know.
What I'm also going to try to argue for more is that Moab is just a continuation of Sodom. And there's actually a good pasuk for that.
So I segued for you. You're welcome.
Let me read you one pasuk from Yechezkel, and then we'll go back.
Yeah.
Even though Moab
Hey.
came from Lot and his daughter,
Who
it
were
sunk in just during the time.
Right.
A few years, in the very brief time they lived in Moab, in Sodom.
Yechezkel perek 16 pasuk 49. Hinei ze haya avon Sodom achosech gaon sivas lechem v'shalvas hashket haya la v'livnoseha v'yad ani v'evyon lo hechazika. Only this was the sin of your sister Sodom, arrogance. She and her daughters had plenty of bread and untroubled tranquility, yet she did not support the poor and the needy. That's Sodom. That's Moab. That's one and the same thing, essentially, and that's where Elimelech wants to go, right? That's what we're reading when we read this first pasuk. It's not this harmless thing of, oh, poor Elimelech and his family have nothing to eat. They need to go find food, so they travel to Moab of all places because it's close by. No, it's not close by. It's not the best place to go when there's a famine. It is the place, and he has no need to go. It is the place that he identified with as, if there's a famine,
As a stingy guy.
right. Who the ishto shnei banav. Okay, sorry, no more interruptions
Going to
until
the town
pasuk
where
bet.
there's no solicitation allowed.
Right.
No shameless.
Okay, who? Let's get the pasuk back.
Right. And the wife never gets mentioned again. Him and his wife and the two
No,
sons.
what do you mean the wife never gets mentioned again? The rest of the book is about the wife.
Naman.
No. Elimelech?
His wife is Naman.
Nami.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Shem Ish Elimelech. V'Shem Ishto Nami. Hashem Shnei Banav, Machlon V'Cholion. That's like, seriously? Like, and his
Right.
name was this, and her name was that. And then there were two of them, like I told you before, and that's their name.
Right.
Yeah, sickness and destruction.
Ephrasim Mebeis Lechem Yehuda.
In case you didn't know where they were from.
Right. Well, now we know that they're
From
Ephrasim.
Right.
Vayavo stay Moav, Vayusham.
They were there.
They were there. They were there, meaning like they're not going anywhere.
Right.
They're going to continue and persist in being there.
We have arrived.
Right.
Yeah.
And Chazal darshan all of these names, even against the simple understanding of their names. Like Elimelech is not a bad name. It's like
Right.
God is my king, right? But they darshan it as Alai Tavo Malchut, that I want all the lordship and I want to be in charge, right? Naomi doesn't get any negative explanation to her name, but then you have Machlon and Kilion, and there are statements from Chazal that try to read that as positive, but I think by and large it's negative. There's also a statement from Chazal that these were not even their names. There's a different list of people in Divrei Hayamim, and we try to put those two together again because of the theory of conservation of characters. It's hard to imagine that like their mom said, "Oh, I'll name you, sickness and destruction." That's not necessarily the right thing to put on the birth certificate. Okay.
When was Elimelech Ish Nami, and Elimelech, the husband of Nami, dies. Because we forgot from one post to the next who he was married to.
So Chazal say that a man doesn't die except to his wife, meaning the person that cares the most about the husband passing is the wife.
But Tishaer he Ushnei Banav, and she and her two sons remained.
Right. So here we can do the math. We know that they remained, right? So there's a few things to.
Repeat her on a boat.
What's that?
Repeat her on a boat.
So there's a few things
My kids
on
hate
this
that
statement.
stuff, and I tell them all the
One
time.
is that it compares them to Shirayim, like they're the leftovers. And the second is that
Like Hevel was for Cain.
something like that. Like they
Gam.
feel left over.
Gamhu, right? Oh, him too, right? There you go.
But more than that, as we're going to see, steadily everything that Naomi loves in this world is being taken away from her, right? And so this is the beginning, and all she's got left are these, and then in the next pasuk they're gone too. That might remind you of Eov, and we'll try to compare Naomi to Eov a little bit more based on some of the things she says later on.
Vayizulhem Noshim Moavios Shem Ha'achas Arpa v'Shem Hashenes Rus. So they each took wives from Moav, Moabites.
Moabites.
Moabitesses.
Right. The first one was named Arpa. The second one was Rus. Vayishvu Sham Ke'eser Shanim. And they lived there for about 10 years.
Right.
Vayamusu Gam Shnehem Machlon v'Kilion. The two of them died.
Anything with that about?
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, I kind of like the asking questions style of when we did Bereshit. Like,
Okay, let's do it.
Like, okay, when in Tanakh do you have estimations of time? Like,
He Kachatzi Halayla.
Right. Oh.
yeah, but that's like,
Well,
right?
That's for a reason.
No. That's like a
Yeah.
that's an appointed time. Like this is like, they were here for this many years, or he lived this many years. It doesn't say about Noah he lived like 950 years, like around 950. It says he lived Adam Arisha 930 years, and then he died. Kind of this how many?
Right.
Like they lived there around 10 years. Who cares? Like if you don't care about like, why are you telling me?
Why are you
this?
mentioning the time if you don't?
If it's not
It's
exact.
not right.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot to unpack in all of these psukim.
Okay. Ask away. I think the more questions, the better.
Right? Like, I mean, there's just so much, like.
Any idea how long the timeline was between the time Elimelech passed away and Machlon and Chilion?
Passing away, 10 years.
Oh, it's 10 years?
It's at least 10 years.
They got married.
He dies.
It's
Then they get
like 10
married.
years. Maybe it's 9 years and a half and like a
Yeah,
little bit.
It could be 9 years and a little bit. It could be 10 years and a little bit. But it's like it's about 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
This is one of those like 10 years to try to have a kid things.
Right. That I think is a fair assessment. There's no children.
Right.
So
Is this the source?
I don't believe this is the
Oh.
source now. But there is no children after 10 years. And there's in fact going to be no children for Naomi after these 10 years. So let's keep going.
Okay.
Right.
ותישאר האישה משני ילדיה ומאישה.
Now you
Yeah.
really get the sense that
Right.
she's like
She's left from
the
everybody.
Shirayim of the Shirayim, right? She's what's left after what's left.
There's the Gam though.
We're
Vayimutu Gam Shneim. Like they also die.
we're gonna see later on that Rus has to collect what is the remainder, right? The poor people get what's left after what's left.
Leket, yeah.
Right.
ותקם היא וכלוסיה ותושב משדה מואב. כי שמע בשדה מואב כי פקד השם את עמו לעשות להם לכם. So she gets up with her daughters-in-law and she returns from the fields of Moab because she heard in Moab that Hashem redeemed his people and gave them bread.
Okay. So the easiest way to read
remembered.
this is I don't know how to pronounce this word. I think it's a hendiad. The idea is that sometimes you'll get like a summary of the whole story in a line, and then you'll get the explanation of the story. So we talked about this by Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'haaretz. God made everything, and then here's the breakdown of what He made. Right. So the story is Vatakam hi v'kaloseh v'teshev misdei Moav. That's what happened. She and her. They got up and they returned. Now, here's more detail about that. She heard that there was food and that God remembered them, and then they go on the way, and you're going to get the rest of the story, the details now. But that's sort of the assessment. There's more here though. Vatakam hi v'kaloseh, like you get the sense of she's sunk in Moav, and now she has to pull herself up by her bootstraps. That's Vatakam. It took her.
Why did she leave? Why did she leave 10 years ago?
Right. The other thing, I love exactly what you're saying. The only reason she's leaving now is because she heard there's bread. She doesn't leave because she's like, oh wow, God is showing me a sign. First he kills my husband, then he kills maybe I should like change my ways. This is not Naomi repenting. This is Naomi realizing, well, you know what? I have no one to provide for me. What?
Who said she did anything wrong?
So, okay. Great point.
Right.
Are you allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael when there's a famine?
Yes.
Because the Avos left, right? That is before there's a nation that has settled in the land. So the halacha is no, you're not.
Even when there's a famine?
So there's actually halachic parameters. When the grain reaches a certain price, then you're allowed to leave, unless you're the Parnas Hador, unless you're Elimelech, basically. If you're the person that everyone is going to rely on and all the poor people are looking for this guy, then you're breaking the spirit of the people by leaving. It's more than just because you're not leaving to get, Elimelech's not leaving to get food, he's leaving to not give out food, right?
He's piecing out.
Right. And that's why it's that he goes and his wife goes and their kids go.
Right,
it wasn't Elimelech going and Naomi protesting the whole way, no, we have to stay and take care of it. No.
Right.
He made a choice to go. She made a choice to go. The kids made a choice to go.
Well, I really dislike these sort of like sort of examining like these characters in their historical context. That's just not where that's not my wheelhouse. But
Yeah.
okay, women. How much agency did women really have back then? Like if Elimelech's like we're going, you know. Like, how much could she really protest and be like, I don't want to go. Like, maybe we should be doing the right thing.
For sure.
How much agency does she have, and therefore,
that's a great question.
How can we really criticize her for it?
That's a very fair point, and I'm not going to disagree with you. If her sons marry Moabite women and they're the ones paying the bills,
Right.
then what do you expect her to do? Right? I think that's very fair. But it is true that she is only going back because there's food in Beis Lechem. She's not going back out of, and we'll see, she's very mad at God that all this happened. She doesn't take responsibility for this and say, you know what, I've been living in Moav. It was the wrong thing for me to do. I should have gone back as soon as I could. She blames God. God took away my everything, and I'm mad at him, and he has embittered my life. We'll get to her whole tirade.
The issue is just living in Moab, or because obviously
It's both. It's living in Moav, and it's leaving everybody. You're the person that everyone is relying on, and you pack up your toys and your food, and you disappear when they need you the most. That's
But they
Loto.
necessarily like assimilated to Moab.
They married Moabite girls.
That's
Yeah, that's pretty extreme assimilation right there.
They married Moabite girls. They lived there for 10 years, and the only reason she's leaving is because everyone is dead and she has she has nothing.
There's a look at it, Moab.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Moab is probably the last place that you're going to get a handout. Right?
So she's leaving the place where she was.
In case you weren't sure which place she was leaving, she's leaving the place that she was.
Right, so they're still with her.
Yes.
They start going on the way to return to Yehuda.
Right. This is it's supposed to feel belabored because you're feeling what they're experiencing. She got up and she went.
Wow.
And she went. And she took the girls with her, and she doesn't want to go, but she's going, and she doesn't want them to come, but she's going, and she's going on foot, the 50-mile trek, and she's going back, like, this is, talk about, like, the walk of shame. She's not going back to someplace else, like, oh, maybe I have an uncle in, Yerushalayim. No, she's going back to the place that she left. She knows what kind of welcome she's going to get, right? She's out of options. That's why she's going.
Wait a minute. If you're saying that going to the place with Elimelech represents adopting those values, could you then, by the flip side, interpret in favor of Nami here, Vatetse min hamakom? Now she's leaving Moab. She's like, maybe I screwed up from this place that I was at, okay, and my daughter-in-laws are with me, and now she's going Lashuv el Eretz Yehuda. Now maybe I missed the boat.
I love it. I want you to hold that and see if you can argue it all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
When she comes back, does she act like she's from Beis Lechem, or does she act like she's from Moav?
Okay.
Fair?
Right, but it says Lashuv, meaning like she's trying to go there. Maybe she still has Moav in her.
For sure.
She was there. It said the pasuk emphasizes, okay, that she was there, like meaning like she's adopted those values. She's gonna try to return to be a better person, like back to the person maybe she was. Maybe she never gets there. Maybe she moves the needle a little bit, and she has the desire to return, but maybe she's still a lousy person.
Like I said,
don't know.
you've got to argue it the whole way through. It's a fair thesis. The word shuv is going to be what we call a mila mancha. No, the elite word, a word that repeats itself over and over again throughout the whole perek for sure, and really the whole Megillah. We're going to be talking about people who are returning.
Right, and so quick question.
Like laws in Esther.
Quick grammatical question.
Yeah.
Okay, shuv and like but tashav is to dwell and to return. Like, are they intentionally like the same word, or are they actually different words? Okay, like, because the thing is, there's what's the word? I want to say it's scope ambiguity. Like, or some kind of or phonetic ambiguity, some kind of ambiguity to say, was she returning or was she living there? Like, are they two different words in Hebrew, or are they the same word?
So I believe they're related.
I know they're related. They're the same letters, but I'm just saying, are they the same word?
No, the
Is the conjugation different?
No. I think they're from the same shorish, meaning like a toshav is someone who is shuv to a place, and now that's their place.
Right. So it implies both movement and dwelling at the same time.
Movement back.
It's coming
Return
to
movement.
Right. It's returning to where what?
Place to stay.
But it also, yeah, but it's also staying. So that's like important because if you can read both of those meanings, like the idea of motion and non-motion, because shav, sheval taseh, right, implies don't move, right? Is the word shav a contronym?
There's a lot of that in Hebrew.
There are times when you say the Yashab, that's the first time coming to the place.
Yeah.
Here is shuv,
Yeah.
return or move backward. Returning, bringing back, backsliding, returning after forced departure, withdrawing, repeating, refreshing. I'll let you explore.
I'm just saying, like I'm just saying, which is it? Is it living? Because lashuv, right? Is it like Shabbat? We're not returning.
No, that's a different showish. Okay, let's keep going. It's worth exploring.
Atomer Nami, Mishtei Kalosel, Lechna Shovna, Isha Lebeis Ima. Go back to your mother's house?
Yeah.
Yas Hashem Imachem, Chesed Kasher Asisem Im Hamesim V'imadi. Hashem should do chesed with you, like kindness with you, like you did with me and the dead people.
The dead dudes.
Okay. What kindness did they do?
Married them? She had a very, very negative opinion of her sons.
That one I
I'm
haven't.
so glad you married those deadbeats.
Right. Thank you so much for marrying my sons. That was very nice of you.
Yeah.
She's thanking the shiksas for marrying her.
Yeah.
They are. I just want to sort of establish this.
First of all, they were Megillah.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we started this.
Were they?
Were they?
I thought they were.
It does say clearly that they married Moabites.
Moabite
It
women.
doesn't say that they
Right.
married Gerim.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, by Shlomo Melech, it says he marries the Egyptian princess, and nowhere in the text itself does it say, "Oh, she converted before he married her."
Right. That's all.
That's
later.
all Chazal.
That's right. Chazal or Rambam. Like Rambam has Shimshon converting all of these women that he consorted with.
Right, and yet there's no evidence of that in the Pesukim.
Right.
It like the Stam Pashut Pshat is that Shlomo married a non-Jewish lady, and that the Machlon and Kilion married non-Jewish ladies, and Shimshon married Delilah, a non-Jewish lady. Like that's the Pashut Pshat. Obviously, Chazal say that they didn't.
I think. Well,
Shlomo's my namesake. I don't want to
I
criticize.
think what we said earlier somewhere is that obviously Mashiach is not going to come from.
So that's the question that's hanging over this whole Megillah is if Isaacson gets to the end and she's still a Moabite,
Right.
what is going on? Right?
So and that was also the difference between Ruth and what was her sister?
Orpah.
And Orpah. The fact that Orpah went back shows that it wasn't a real conversion, and the fact that Ruth moved on showed that she truly meant it.
Okay, so let me ask it to you in reverse. Does Naomi know that? Let's pretend they converted. Is Naomi allowed to tell them, "Don't be a convert anymore. Go back home"?
It's like
No.
it's sort of like a.
Is anyone allowed to?
It's sort of like an adopted
test?
child who, has to sort of re-accept the Torah when he's 13. Meaning this is no.
Were these girls like
this is
10
Ruth's
years
chance-
old when they got married? They
I
got.
don't know that age, but this is Ruth's chance to reaffirm her conversion.
No, but he's saying you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to okay, a kid who converts because his parents converted, it's one thing. But like an actual ger who's Megayer, you're not allowed to do anything to even upset the delicate balance even a little bit.
That's one of the ways we try to convince them not to do this.
Like you can say lechatchila, don't do this. It's a bad idea.
Going back. You can
Again,
still be a wonderful non-Jew.
You don't know how old Ruth and Orpah were.
We don't.
And you don't know the marriage was.
Well, they're at least, let's say 3.
They're at least
when they get married, they're at least 3.
Yes,
so
and
they're
marriage
at least
arranged
13.
by Elimelech and Naomi.
No, Elimelech was dead.
No.
No, they married the girls after Elimelech died.
Okay, but
They do?
So it's arranged by
The
Naomi.
pasuk says he died.
It's arranged by Naomi, so the conversion is sort of tied into the marriage, right?
I hear you.
So it's like they have to now they become adult. I feel like sort of like now do a re-Megayer.
Okay. Let's even assume all of that is true. If after doing that, they say no, we want to continue,
Right.
can she then one more time tell them no, sorry, you're out, go back home? She can do this as much as she wants. In other words,
You're starting the whole conversion process again.
oh, that's interesting. They went through the conversion process.
It wasn't really a conversion process. It was in order to get married, you have to convert. In order to marry Machon and Chilion, they have to convert.
Okay, let me try it a different way. How could they have converted? You have to go to Beis Din, right?
Yeah.
You can't just I'm Jewish now. I'm go to the mikvah and I'm a Jew.
Benayid.
They're in Moav.
Right.
Okay.
What Beis Din?
Unless you have.
Right, so it's like
Unless they like went back to what Malchon and Kilin are the Beis Din that it's converting the way.
Right, doesn't work.
That's a little bit of a conflict of interest, wouldn't you say?
Well, we're gonna get into a lot more
You
conflict
said
of interest.
Elimelech was
Elimelech's dead. He's
no, but what was he in?
he was the Gadol Hador. He's
That's what
the
I'm saying.
the Parnes Hador, let's
I
say.
think that his sons would marry even at least a sham conversion without,
Right. At least give us something.
Yeah,
But he's dead. He's out of the picture.
If he's
They're
just
living
some
for-
rich guy, and he's
Right,
not
he also
like
jumps ship.
Moshe's saying, he's the Parnes Hador, he's not the Gadol Hador. Like he's the big rich guy. He's the Bill Gates. He's the Musk. Whatever. Like that doesn't mean he's a good guy. Like
Yeah, but he has.
there are plenty of assimilated.
He has a reputation, and
Well,
people are talking about him, right? So
He's in Moav, right?
That's why
He
he
went to
left.
Vegas.
Right.
You know,
He's like, all right.
like whatever happens here,
Good
they've
luck.
already written him off from his
Right.
perspective.
Best of luck. I'm out of here.
I think there would have been more
Of-
text to state that Elimelech's family sort of like fell down to the levels of the Moabites, and I think there would have
wait
been more.
till Naomi comes back and see how everyone treats her. They don't treat her as like, oh, welcome back. I'm so sorry you had to leave. They treat her like a pariah. How dare you?
I like to think that Elimelech and his whole group, if they were the Parnes Hador, like they pieced out in the middle of the night and didn't tell anybody. Like it wasn't like, okay, goodbye, don't forget to write. Like they're just like, okay, we're out of here. Don't tell anybody.
Just
Like
get in the van.
like
Just
like
get in the van.
hey, we're leaving for the weekend to go to Boca, and like then they're just like pieced, and then like the people are like, hey, where'd they go? And like the house is empty. There's a tumbleweed going by.
Okay, to be continued.